English, something like that.
Okay. All right. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to week 4 of the WBC Women's Baseball webinar series. After a hard day for me at work today, I'm super excited to be out here, down here, about to chat with these fabulous women. So whether it's your first seminar or you've watched them all, we welcome you to this week's seminar. If you're on Zoom, there is an interpretation button on the bottom of your screen. We are streaming in both English and Spanish, so feel free to select either English or Spanish down there for your translation. So my name is Narelle Gostre, and as I said, I'm really excited to be here with these women today and excited also to be back after presenting week 1. I'm a member of the Women's Baseball Commission for the WBSC, and I'm from Australia. I've been fortunate enough to represent Australia as an athlete, technical commissioner, commission member, and a coach. So I'd like to start by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land I'm hosting this seminar from, which is the Larrakia country in the top end of Australia. As this event is being broadcast internationally, I also acknowledge the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and the world, and would like to recognise and celebrate the importance of all our cultures and connections. If you haven't had a chance yet, please check out the WBSC Academy for our first 3 lessons. And we also invite you to join us next week and the week after for our last 2, featuring powerhouses Japan and USA. I've said it a couple of times, I'll say it again, I'm super excited to be bringing this group of women together. They're some of our top athletes who have represented their respective countries admirably over the years. And they all have an abundance of experience, successes, challenges, and inspirations to share with you today. Before I get to our panelists, I just want to let you know that you can post comments and questions in all our formats. If you're watching via Zoom, please use the Q&A instead of the chat screen. So we'll take as many questions as we can during the session. Either you can post a question for an individual panel member or for the group as a whole. So most of our panelists have done a video for you tonight. If you haven't had a chance to watch it yet, make sure you check them out afterwards and to find out a little bit more about them. And there's so much I could share with you about them today, but I'm just going to do a quick intro and let them speak for themselves. So on the same continent as me, but thousands of kilometres apart, we have Shae Lillywhite. Shae joined the Australian national team at 16 and is Australia's most capped women's player, having competed at 8 consecutive World Cups. Shae was also the first foreign player to sign to the professional Japanese Women's Baseball League. So welcome, Shae. How are you going tonight? Oh, mute. Got to unmute yourself, Shae.
I'm here. Thanks for having me. Welcome, everybody. And yeah, I hope we can share some of our stories with you all tonight. Today, wherever you are.
Wherever you are. Yeah, thanks, Shae. Now we're across the world. Katherine Psota is a Canadian veteran who has not only participated in every Women's World Cup, she has 2 bronze and a silver medal and was recognised as a World Cup All-Star in 2010 and 2012. So hi, Kate, how are you going and what are you up to right now?
Morning. We're just navigating the COVID situation like everybody else here. Just trying to work hard and stay connected with our team here.
Yeah, excellent. Thanks, Kate. Not excellent about the lockdowns, but excellent that you're trying to stay connected. So welcome, Kate. Risa Nakashima is a 4-time gold medalist as a pitcher with Japan. She's gone on to be a successful coach, winning the Japanese Professional League and another gold medal as the Japanese pitching coach in 2016. Risa was recently named as Japan's national team manager for the next World Cup, and we're fortunate to have her tonight. Hi, Risa.
Hello, everyone. I was looking forward to seeing everyone tonight. So let's have a good time.
Yeah, that sounds really good. Risa is only joining us at the last minute, so it hasn't done a video. So if you have any extra questions for Risa, please make sure you post them in the comments box. Another geographical jump over to Europe this time. Famke Gildemacher. I know I haven't said that right, but I really tried. Famke has played in thank you. Famke's played in 3 World Cups for the Netherlands, and it's also a player who debuted at 16 years old. She's working her way around the field as a catcher and third base originally, and at last World Cup graced the mound. So Famke, where are you with time zones? What are you up to?
It's 2 p.m. here now, so
okay.
Nice afternoon. Chill.
Yeah, that's very civilized. Thanks, Famke, and welcome. Next, we have Veronica Alvarez, who's the current USA Women's head coach and has also had the opportunity to coach with the Oakland A's during spring training. Veronica first represented the USA in 2008 and now is worked her way up to manager of the women's national team. Hi, Veronica.
Hello, how are you?
Good. I have a question I need to ask you. Are you Oakland's through and through, or have you got another team that you support in the MLB?
Well, I love my hometown team, so I like the Marlins a lot, but the A's are special to me from my experience and the way they've treated me. So I don't know, it's a hard one. I battle those thoughts.
Yeah, well, it would be fun to have that battle if they're playing off each other in the World Series, right? Yeah,
that'd be awesome.
Good. Yeah. So down to Venezuela, we have Lelys Gomez, Lelys has represented her country for 30 years in both softball and baseball. That's an amazing career, and she's now sharing her knowledge with the younger generation. So, hola, and how are you today? You need to unmute. This is going to be the signal for unmute.
Ok. Y es un honor para mí estar aquí. Gracias por la invitación. Pero lo que dijo que estoy compartiendo con la federación después de mi retiro, de verdad que no he sido tomado en cuenta como para trabajar con el béisbol y softball femenino. O sea, aquí en Venezuela todavía hay mucho machismo que no toman en cuenta mujeres para trabajar con béisbol, softball, por lo menos el femenino. He tratado de buscar en equipos, pero sobre todo de niños, pero cuando ven que uno es mujer, como que te cierran las puertas.
I think we've all seen that in some shapes or form, and the world's starting to change, and hopefully things like these seminars and the support of the WBSC means that can change for you in the future and for the women following you. So thanks for sharing that, and welcome.
Gracias.
So that's our panel for tonight, and we've got a few questions to start them off. As I mentioned, that you can put your questions in the comments box and we'll get to them and answer them. So I'm going to start with the first question being taking a quote from Derek Jeter. He once said, "You're playing a game, whether it's a Little League or Game 7 of the World Series, it's impossible to do well unless you're having a good time." So you guys are all veterans of the game. You've stayed the distance, and that's something to be congratulated. And it's a challenge in the amateur world, balancing the requirements of being an athlete and doing what you need to do to earn a living. So my question for you after that mouthful is, what keeps you coming back and what keeps you in the game? So I might start out with you, Kate. What's your thoughts on that?
I think part of it has to do a lot with your teammates, people that keep you motivated, the people that help, your coaches. I know it's really tough here after a long day to get in a car and fight traffic in Toronto for a couple hours to get to a game. But when you get there and you're with your teammates, it's just a great way to unwind and, just enjoy something that you're really passionate about. So yeah, for me, it was definitely a tool to unwind after hard days.
Yeah, and as you said, the teammates have, a big factor in that as well. Famke, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I agree with Kate. Teammates are definitely a big part of it. For us, it's the tournaments, or for me especially, it's the tournaments that keep you going. That they are the real motivational power. We don't have many of them, being it's such a small sport here. But but so yeah, we look forward to every Euros or Worlds that we can get. And yeah, then when you're there, it's absolutely amazing, and that's giving you enough energy to work hard for the next one.
Yeah, that's great. I have been asked to remind everybody and myself to just slow down so our interpreter can keep up. So Veronica, I'm going to ask you the same question. What keeps you in the game?
Well, I mean, I feel like there's a natural love for the game, but I would say the same. It's hard to, I would love to give you a different answer, but I think it's the teammates and the culture that's created within the team. I think that's, like Jeter's quote, is a major part of winning, right? If we're not having fun, if there isn't a good culture amongst the team and the teammates, then it's really not worth the hassle. So I mean, I think that's a big part of what I try to do as a coach, is create those environments where the players want to keep coming back and perform for each other, not just for themselves or their own success, but for the team's success.
Yeah, thanks, Veronica. So I'm just going to head into our next question. I'm going to ask this of you, Lelys. How have you managed to stay connected to baseball during this COVID time?
Bueno, aquí en Venezuela se ha mantenido una cuarentena desde que empezó el COVID. Al principio se mantuvo como por 2 meses seguidos y no se podía hacer nada. Después se ha estado abriendo una semana sí, una semana no. En la semana que se abre hay flexibilización. Tratan el deporte en general de ir a diferentes campos y sobre todo que sean abiertos pero sin público. Y ahí se ha tratado de mantener siempre con sus medidas de bioseguridad para evitar contagios con los niños, los representantes, así.
Yeah, it's definitely tough, isn't it? Shae, how about you? How did you stay connected during COVID?
It was a little bit challenging. We had a little bit of time off, but we just sort of reached out. We did a lot of online Zooming and workouts and everything like that. But now that as soon as we could get back out on the track, we were back out training, and we actually got our summer season in. So that was a really good thing. And now we're kind of pretty COVID free. So we're doing really well here. So it's going quite well now.
Yeah. Except for those like 3 weeks where we'd scheduled our national women's showcase and it got cancelled 3 times. Finally got there a couple of weeks ago, which were great games that everybody really enjoyed in Australia and around the world. Yeah,
it was great to finally get the games in. It was a shame. We had 3 or 4 times we tried to schedule them since January, but we finally got together as a group and played some games. So hopefully we can have another camp at some point and get together again.
Yeah, fingers crossed for that. And Risa, are you guys out on the field, or are you in lockdown or somewhere in between?
No, we are not locked down, but we still have restrictions a lot. So our baseball season got postponed again, but luckily we can still train. Not as Japanese team or anything, but all the teams are still training. So yeah, I go there and watch them. But hopefully the season starts soon, like in June or July. So it's still tough here too.
Yeah. And Kate, you mentioned before we went live that you're actually in lockdown now, and have been for a while. So how have you managed to stay connected?
Yeah, it's been pretty rough on the girls, I think. I know definitely in our province, a lot of them haven't played a game in almost 2 years, and even training opportunities have been really limited. So we really try to stay connected with the team through Zooms. We propose challenges to them, weekly check-ins. So anything we can do to support not only their baseball and their training, but also their mental health as well. Coaches are available all the time if they need to connect with anyone. So we just try to keep in contact as best we can.
Yeah, that sounds good. I'd love to hear a little bit, what sort of challenges have you been posting for each other? Are they things you can share?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of them are physical challenges. So each coach has a group of players. So like there's Team Ash, Team Kate, Team Anthony, Team Aaron, and whoever wins the previous challenge will propose the next one. So it can be X number of squats, push-ups, sit-ups, bullpens. Our team got blast sensors for their bats, so we can track their swings. So a number of swings can be included as well in that.
Yeah, excellent. They're really great ideas for anyone that's out there listening and still in lockdown, because I know there's plenty of places around the world that are still struggling to get rid of this COVID virus. So there's some options there for you. So Veronica, I'm going to head over to you to ask a question around baseball being one of the few sports where we often hear women say that they play with the men. And in some countries, women and girls are discouraged from playing with boys, but in baseball, definitely in Australia and other countries, we do. Can you tell us any of experiences, positive or negative, that where you've been either playing in a men's team or a boys' team?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think I hear everyone talking about their leagues or their women's teams and things like that. In the US, we don't have that. So, I mean, there's 1 or 2 tournaments here or there, but it's not really like the teams get together last minute to have the event. And then the women's national team is the same. The women are usually training on their own, spread out across the US, in order to be ready for our events. So the good majority of them have to play with the boys, whether it's from when they were growing up or even just on men's leagues, in order to get game time in, innings in, whatever the case may be. But we've had a mix of experiences on the women's national team as far as our players. And now I see the young girls that aren't on the national team going through the same thing. Some will have to fight to play in their high school teams or with the boys. And that gets tiring. So I could see how that's exhausting. And then we lose them to the softball world. So that I would say is a negative, though I don't think softball's a negative.
Yeah.
I don't know what just happened. I'm sorry.
You lost your video. That's all right. We can still hear you're back.
I got a phone call for some reason, but I don't think going to softball is a negative. I think it's a good sport. It's just a different sport. So it's a shame that we lose players to that different sport. But I've had a mix of both. I feel like since I was little, you always face the issues of you're the only girl on the team. I am also Hispanic. I was born and raised in Miami, Florida, which is also still very machista, like Lelys was talking about in Venezuela. But so it was things that I constantly heard when I was little, and just I've built resistance to, I feel like, my entire life. And I think that's what we have all done. We have built resistance to any negative comments and ideologies, and we just move forward because we love the game. So I think the negatives kind of just made us stronger. And then the positives are that we do every once in a while find really supportive teams and coaches and players that allow us to develop in a great way, right? Because now we're competing amongst the boys, we're held to high expectations, and then we perform accordingly. So I've had a mix of both, but I see the positive to both sides. Yeah, that's right. Lelys, you mentioned a few things earlier. Did you want to share maybe some positive experiences about when you've been involved with playing with or against the men in Venezuela, or have you just always played in and around the women?
Sorry. Yo empecé de niña con niños, porque en esa época no había béisbol. De hecho, no hay béisbol femenino de niñas, sino que jugaba en un equipo de niños con mis hermanos. Hasta una edad que ya yo cumplí 14, ya los niños eran grandes, yo me quedé una estatura no muy grande, y ahí fue cuando salté al softball. Ahí duré 20 y tantos años en el softball representando a Venezuela. Después que empiezo a jugar béisbol femenino, porque en Venezuela el béisbol femenino es relativamente nuevo, ahí estuve aproximadamente como 10 años también. Pero yo me mantuve jugando en equipos de hombres, yo sola, en equipos de 40 para arriba, no eran hombres jóvenes porque no se podía, sino que después que me retiro, aunque después que me retiro fue más que todo dificultad mental, que yo me retiro porque pensé que iba a quedar trabajando con el femenino, se suponía, y nunca me hicieron un llamado para incorporarme a la selección nacional y después de eso me frustró un poco y duré como 2 años sin, no quería saber nada de béisbol, de softball, nada. Eso fue algo que para poder salir de eso me costó porque era toda una vida jugando béisbol, softball, y a la hora del retiro, que es lo que ya es una decisión difícil de tomar, entonces la tomo pensando que voy a quedar trabajando con el béisbol femenino porque era algo de lo que yo me había esperado mucho tiempo, enseñar todo lo que yo había aprendido durante toda mi trayectoria, que es lo que quiero hacer, pero lamentablemente por el machismo aquí en Venezuela, tú no ves ni una mujer dirigiendo un equipo, ni una mujer entrenando un equipo por ningún lado, ni en el softball, ni en el béisbol. Me pasó en el softball antes de los Juegos Olímpicos de Beijing, me sacan del softball, ahí me tomó tiempo también tomar la decisión de seguir jugando hasta que me incorporé al béisbol femenino, se me fue pasando toda, y bueno, pensando que con el béisbol iba a quedar trabajando, porque de hecho toda la vida me gustó más el béisbol que el softball, pero lamentablemente aquí no había béisbol femenino hasta 2007, algo así. Y bueno, esas fueron unas de mis dificultades dentro de este deporte, pues que después de tantos años en una carrera estoy sin trabajar con nadie, sino por ahí trabajos personalizados que me buscan, los hago con una que otra niña, uno que otro niño, pero no era la idea era que yo quería incorporarme a la selección nacional para ayudar, para hacer todo lo que están haciendo las demás chicas dentro de sus países.
Pero ladies, todavía hay tiempo.
Yeah.
No te...
And that,
Sí, todavía hay tiempo, pero mientras.
yes.
Okay. Tú sigue
Yes,
con
you
esa,
do.
que tú
And
puedes
that's, and
hacerlo.
look, always difficult to, break through some of those barriers. But I think it's just fantastic that you finished that on that high note of this. There is still time. And we all have the challenges, and we can still just continue to persevere. We've always got to live in hope. Yes.
I know that.
Yeah.
Sí, I know that,
So,
pero
thank you.
aquí tú
Yeah.
llegas a un sitio donde hay alguien entrenando, un grupo de niños, y tú llegas, mira que yo quiero trabajar y tal. En lo que ven que uno es mujer, te llamo después y nunca más llaman. Así me está. Y en la selección nacional de béisbol, que fue donde me retiré, ahí hay como algo que no deja que... Se suponía que cuando yo me retiro, Araceli, la presidenta de la federación, me ofreció que yo iba a quedar trabajando ahí y metieron otro hombre en vez de meter por lo menos una mujer.
Yeah. As you said, you still have time. So, Famke, I'm just going to run over to you around your experiences playing, growing up, or playing with boys or men in baseball.
Yeah, so basically I've been playing with men all my life. It's our only option here. I think with the amount of women here, we could, a lot of them are still young, so we just cannot fix a league or anything. So playing with the boys is the best option. I think during my youth, I think it was actually good because it, as the men grew stronger, I had to get better as well to still, to keep up basically. And I got very lucky that I had a coach who always supported me and always saw me as one of the guys basically, and not and me having my own value, and also recognizing that once we got to the full field that I wasn't not gonna hit home runs for a long while or all the time, but still noticing that because all the boys were full of testosterone, I got walks all the time, so I was still very valuable in the hitting lineup. So mostly good vibes. Like my club is amazing, all the boys are amazing, they are very sweet actually, and as soon as the opponent tries to say something or tries to be how do you say that correctly, be rude, they always step up for me, and they are the first ones to correct them before I even noticed that they said it. They're already almost fighting for me. So that's really good. Of course, sometimes the opponents say something. They're like, "Oh, just a girl," and then you hit half a bomb, and they're like, "Oh, suddenly you're a character from Zelda or something." I don't play that stuff. I don't know. I figured that would be it. So yeah, it's good and bad. It's good and bad, but mostly good.
I think you make a really good point about the fact that, yes, you're not necessarily in the lineup to hit bombs every time, but there is no lineup in the world where every player, male or female, is a home run hitter from top to bottom. That's not how baseball teams are made up. And it's really important, I think, to have that balance, and everybody can play a part in that. Shae, I'll give you last one for you on this one. You've also played a lot with the men. What's your experience been like?
For me, yeah, same thing. Grew up playing with the boys, and being very lucky with a club team that's very supportive of our women's program. We have 3 women's teams at my club. We have a ground that we can train at anytime, and a really supportive men's program. So been very lucky to get extra games playing with the men in our highest grade when I needed it. So yeah, nothing but good things from the boys. But also, yeah, you don't have a lot of success, but you learn a lot, and then you can take that into the women's game. So yeah, I've had really great experiences with the boys, and appreciate them being supportive of our program, especially all of our girls coming through. So yeah, it's been a good experience for me.
Yeah, and that's true. I think we are lucky that we in some ways are able to get that experience against playing with the men. A couple of you have mentioned that makes you work harder, and you're trying to reach greater heights, and then I think we all come out better players from that. So while we're still talking on gender, we do have a question from one of our listeners, and knowing that we're all women's baseball players, and we all one day hope to see women's baseball in the future Olympic Games. The question is, how do y'all, so I feel it might be from somewhere in the USA, how do y'all feel about softball and baseball returning to the Olympics, but being gender specific? And I'm going to throw to you, Kate, on this one.
I'm not so caught up on the gender specific thing. I think it's just great for it to be back and be part of the Olympics period. Part of the issue with our game is growing it globally. So hopefully the more people that it can reach on a global level will only help us out in the long run. Sure, I'd love to see women's baseball as part of the Olympics, but I think right now our focus is more on growing the game globally. So any kind of time we can get it on a big platform like that is great.
Yeah, excellent. Thanks, Kate. What about you, Risa? What do you think about that?
Yeah, I agree with Kate. Like we need to create more quality games, like to make people interested in. Like, yeah, I would like to see playing Olympics like in like 50 years. But I think it's gonna take time to be in it.
Fingers crossed the Olympics that are going to be in the United States, that there's a possibility, I guess, that it might be a exhibition sport in there. Veronica, have you got any thoughts or insights of what anyone's thinking about with that?
I always have thoughts and comments, but I would say the issue with it being gender specific is that we battle the society's thoughts that women play softball and men play baseball. And the fact that the Olympics are hosting it as such doesn't help women's baseball or men's softball in that case have some, ground to stand on. So I think that it's a shame that they have done that, because now it just continues to kind of certify that thought in people's minds of that women play softball, men play baseball. And I think our sport will grow the moment that we separate the two in people's minds. So I think women's baseball will only get stronger the moment that you don't have to convince somebody that you play baseball, not softball, when you're having a conversation with them, right? That they'll just say, oh yeah, women's baseball, I know that exists, right? Instead of, I've never known that, I've never heard it. And having an event like women's baseball at the Olympics would be a quick way to make that happen. And I think the US is far off of having a professional women's league, but I don't think we're far off from having an Olympic women's baseball event. I think our World Cups are high quality, good competition. And I think that we could showcase that in Olympic setting or a Pan American game setting.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think rugby is a pretty good example of a sport that basically women weren't really considered to play, but I think it was 2 or 3 Olympics ago, it was announced that rugby sevens was going to be in the Olympics, and then all of a sudden, women playing rugby came out of the woodwork, and a lot of money was put behind them, a lot of resources, and now they've got a product that is absolutely fantastic out there. And I can see that if we gave women's baseball that same chance, I'm sure we could have that same opportunity. I will share just a funny thing about the women's baseball and men's softball is I was at my parents' house last year, and there was a men's softball tournament going on behind the house. And my mum actually turned around to me and said, "Oh, do men play softball, do they?" I was like, "Yes." That's it's nice to hear it the other way. It was not really nice, but it's different to hear it the other way around. So we've talked a little bit about the baseball as a whole and what's happening around the world. And also just want to start hearing some thoughts about you, or just stories from you about your history playing in World Cups. And you've all played against each other a few times. And I would love to know if anyone has a specific story about another player on the panel that you'd like to share. And you all had this question in advance, so I'm hoping you've got something there, and I'm just going to let you sort of put up your hand or say, "Yep, I'll start this one." Lelys, yes.
En mi primer mundial de béisbol en el 2010 en Caracas, uno de mis recuerdos fue jugando contra Estados Unidos. Yo no sé si Verónica se acuerda que había mucha gente, que yo vi que la mayoría de los equipos no estaba acostumbrado a jugar con esa cantidad de público. Entonces en el juego de Estados Unidos estábamos perdiendo, de repente nos fuimos arriba y en el 6º inning me traen a mí a pichar contra Estados Unidos para picharle a Tamara. Y ya ella venía de dar 2 o 3 honrones en el mundial. Y mi picheo no es tan duro, era una rectica ahí. Y el manager me empezó a pedir curva y lo que hice fue tirarle puras bolas malas porque tenía 2 envases y un jonrón de ella en ese momento nos hubiese volteado el juego. Entonces lo que hice disimuladamente fue tirarle bolas por todos lados y luego a las otras 2 bateadoras le hicimos los outs y se acabó el juego. Pero eso para mí fue algo como que me tocó pichar a mí contra Tamara, que venía de dar ya 2 o 3 honrones en el torneo.
Can I speak in Spanish here or no?
Sure. I think, Vivian, is that okay? Yeah.
Lo cómico es que ese es mi momento favorito también, y nosotras perdimos y todavía es mi momento favorito. So I was just saying that it's my favorite moment as well. Like, it's funny when people ask me my favorite World Cup moment, it's a game we lost. We lost against Venezuela in that game. But the environment of playing it was 16,000 fans. Venezuela had bands in the stadium. It was just such a cool thing to be a part of, right? And I remember just like realizing that on field and realizing that moment that we were a part of. But we were winning, and when she didn't mention it, we were winning by a lot. We were winning like 5-0, 6-0. Yeah, 5-0. And the fans, right, were part of the experience of them winning, right? They got a walker. Era un caminado, no, algo de eso, un hit by pitch. And then the fans erupted, and the whole momentum of the game switched into their favor. But a loss, and I don't feel like a loss should be my favorite memory, but it still is. But yeah, so an epic game, and I'm glad it's her favorite memory, because I've been saying it's my favorite memory for a while.
I think it's just fantastic that it's about the game. Your favorite memory is about the game and not the importance of winning and losing. And that's what we all really, aspire to as players and coaches is to focus on the game and the process and the wins and losses. They come and go, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah. Thank you both for sharing that. That's a great story, and a great response or reply. Can anyone else come up with another thought or a story? Come on, Shae. I know you must have one about Risa somewhere along there.
Yeah, I think I'll actually say about Kate. I still remember my first World Series. It was a World Series back in 2001 when we were sitting, I think we were watching a game after a game, and Kate came up to me and she said to me, "You're the youngest player on your team and I'm the youngest player on my team, and let's be friends." And all these years later, still really good friends, and she's traveled across the country, across the world to be in my country for a little while and have our experience in Australia. So I think, taking those moments throughout my life has been amazing. And the same with Risa. I've known Risa since we were about 19 as well, and seeing her pitch as a junior to then coaching has been like those experiences. And the gameplay is one thing, but off the field as well, it's been a really great journey to meet everybody and have those experiences. So.
Yeah, thanks, Shae. It's definitely true. And we've got a question coming up later a little bit about that international switch and everybody playing as imports or exports. Famke, have you got any special moments that over the time you've played, and any particular players that you remember or recall?
From the panel or in general?
Yeah, panel if you've got one, or just in general.
Well, obviously I have a lot of memory. I've been to Australia as well, so I know Shae pretty well now. So so obviously I have a lot of memories from that, but that's not really from a World Cup. From World Cup, I know some players who are very impressive, like Sato from Japan, obviously. She should be named during this Q&A for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and Ace and Ace from Canada. She's amazing. Yeah, from this panel, I think the only time I really got close to any of you was during 16 when Kate tagged me out at first base. But we scored the tying run in the fourth, which for us as a tiny country against a powerhouse like Canada was such an amazing experience. I hope you're not deaf now, but because I was screaming so loud. But yeah, we played 7 innings against Canada. I think that was our best game ever. Lost I think 7-1, 9-1 in the end, but we played 7 innings, so that was our win. And looking back at it, we were so proud of that game. So that's my favorite memory. Also,
thanks.
So.
Oh, sorry. Oh yeah. And again, it's great to hear it that it's not about the win and losses. And probably I'm just going to go. Risa right now on this panel is the player that has the most gold medals, the most wins. But Risa, are there any specific moments that you can remember that isn't necessarily about winning or losing?
Actually, I was thinking about the same thing as Shae. Like, I was thinking about my first World Series in Japan. Like, before the World Cup, we had the tournament in Japan, and I was the youngest in the team, and I still remember that everyone said to me and Kate looks the same, like twins. So that was the first time I met and I talked to her, I think. And then since then we took photos after the World Cup, like every World Cup, after the closing ceremony or whenever we could. Yeah, for me that's good memories, like not just winning or losing, it's just making good friends and watching them play, and yeah, it's good memory for me.
Yeah, that's excellent. Veronica, I'm going to ask you if you've got any particular players that you've played against over the years that you always felt you looked forward to playing against because it was always a good matchup, or someone who, you know, challenged you or you like to challenge them?
Yeah, I wouldn't say specific players, but teams, right? It's always, you know, US and Canada has a rivalry, whether they know it or not. But, you know, it's fight to the death, and same when we play Japan. But it's always really good competitions. And I mean, that's not to exclude anyone, but our rivalry with Canada is real. I don't know if he feels the same, but yeah, so it's always a fun competition. You know, you're going to bring it. We've had lots of run-ins, right? We've had the World Cup, but we've also had the Pan American Games, which was really cool to be a part of. And I mean, that obviously is only specific to some of us in this chat, but that being a part of that event was like epic in so many levels. As a female athlete, I feel like we dream of being Olympians, and to get close enough that we're living amongst the other athletes in the, you know, athlete village was just a cool experience. But with that, our championship game was against Canada, and it was just a fight to the end. Even though the score may not have represented that, I feel like they're a team that you really can't let your guard down, and you just have to keep competing the entire game. You can't just take it for granted that you have a lead or whatnot. So I've have fond memories of playing everyone. I feel like I could go on team by team and just kind of say those experiences. But yeah, I would just base it off of that, not necessarily specific players.
Yeah, and that's true, isn't it? Like, there is definitely teams that match up well against each other, and teams that, you know, will dominate a lot of other teams, but then struggle against one particular team. We see that in every sport. You guys have all talked a little bit, or some of you have talked a little bit about the friendships that you've made through the sport. And I know, so I think 5 out of 6 of you, or at least 4, sorry, my numbers are 3 of you, I'm going to go 5, 4, 3. 3 of you have all played in Australia as imports, and Shae, you've played in Japan. Lelys, I believe you've played in the US. The question for this one is, if one day when we're allowed to travel again, if somebody was to think about going to another country to play, what would your advice be for them? Kate, can I start with you?
Just pack up and go. Like, when the opportunity presents itself, don't second think it, just go, because you will not regret it. I can almost guarantee that. I think a lot of us overthink where we are in our life and where we're supposed to be, but I think a lot of it is about the journey, not necessarily the outcome, especially when you're young. So just pack up and go when you have that opportunity. I was super fortunate. I spent the better part of 8 months with Shae and her family, and she's pretty much like a sister now. Even touching what you were talking about before, when we play them, she, if I get a hit or whatever, and I end up seeing her at first, second, wherever on the field, she'll be like, well, that was lucky, wasn't it? Or, oh, that was a good one. Like, she always has something to say, whether it's good or not, she'll always say something. But that's what I look forward to as a player. So yeah, if you have the opportunity, just go.
Just go. Yeah, that's really simple, isn't it? Keep it simple. Famke, you were saying you've played in Australia as well, in Melbourne. Same advice, anything else?
No, I completely second Kate on this. Just pack up your shit and go. Yeah, best time of my life. I didn't play for Shae's team, but for a different one. But yeah, it's the same method. I was with a family in the house, and it was amazing. Yeah, I don't really have that much to add. Then just go. There's no way you're gonna regret it. It's worth it. Definitely after COVID.
Yeah, I know. I think we'll all be, championing the bit to get out and play, and then, opportunities. Lelys, you went from Venezuela. You played in Miami, right?
No, yo fui a la Universidad de Oklahoma, me becaron cuando tenía 39 años. O sea, se me presentó en uno de los campeonatos mundial en Canadá, softball. Para mí fue algo que me agarró de sorpresa porque no pensé que a esa edad ya yo iba a ser becada para jugar en una universidad en Estados Unidos. Tomé la decisión y fui. Me costó un poquito por el idioma, que a esa edad yo no hablaba inglés. Y me costó un poquito, bueno, pero me gradué, jugué mis 4 años, duré 5 años allá. Y fue una experiencia para mí de verdad inolvidable porque dicen que la época en la universidad es una de las mejores de la vida, pero para mí creo que fue mejor porque ya fui a una edad grande, que los recuerdos todavía están presentes, pues, y me tocó jugar con equipos de verdad muy buenos. Yo jugué en la universidad, Oklahoma City University, y el coach confió en mí, y bueno, ahí estuve por mis 4 temporadas, de las cuales en 3 quedé All América en los campeonatos nacionales, y bueno, luego que me graduó, ya viajé a Miami un año, que me tocó trabajar en un gimnasio ahí. Yo trabajé en un gimnasio, Valley Total Fitness, hasta que realmente no pude arreglar mis papeles y regresé a Venezuela. Pero fue una experiencia de verdad muy buena para mí porque allí también aprendí mucho. Aprendí, o sea, con las compañeras, el idioma, que me ayudaban a veces, se reían de mí a veces cuando no podía pronunciar bien las cosas, pero de verdad que fue uno de mis mejores momentos en mi vida.
That's excellent. It's such a wonderful opportunity, and that you've been able to do that. And you talked a little bit about the language. And so, Shae, I know when you went to Japan, you had some language barriers there. How did you get over them, and what would you say to somebody else who might have to go to a country where there's a language barrier?
I think just be brave, and make connections and just try hard. And baseball's a little bit of a universal language too. So sport, it was really good for the Japanese girls to try and help me. They kind of helped me a lot, and I taught them things. So I was really lucky early on when I was about 21 to go there and have an experience, and then build on that, and put myself in a position where I could, just develop myself. And then I could bring it back home and take those experiences and bring them to Australia and try and build us up a little bit, and not copy, but take some of that information that Japan does and why they're so successful, and try and bring it home. So I found it, really, really good for me. But it was challenging. You just have to, I guess, be brave and just trust that you're doing it for the right reasons.
Yeah. And we've all definitely seen the what you brought back from Japan definitely has imparted a lot of knowledge and experience to the rest of the Australian team over the years. And Risa, have you got anything to add to that one about, packing up and going?
I think for us, like Japanese people, it's a little bit tough. Like it's tough decision we can't say just pack and go, because most of us don't have English. Like when I went there, I struggled a bit too. Like I had no English, so I had to go to school and study English. And I wanted to say something, but I couldn't say. Like it's hard. So but I have learned a lot, and that changed my life. So I think if you want to go, I'll say go.
Yeah. And even if it's hard, right? Yeah. Even if it's hard, it's worthwhile doing.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And I was lucky. Like I had a lot of helps, and like lots of nice people around me, and help me English, help me getting jobs, and coaching me baseball and everything. So yeah.
And I think that's a great thing about the baseball world. When we're a part of that, for the most part, people are inclusive, and people want us within the baseball family, I guess, and there's a lot of support there. There is a question that's come up around inclusion. So yeah, we've just talked a little bit about being supported and included, and some of the barriers if it's been a little bit hard. The question is around what advice do you give for young women who are dealing with being excluded from baseball? There are still, Veronica, you already mentioned that there are definitely in the US, it's still a big thing. What's your advice for the girls who are struggling with that?
Yeah, so I would say one thing is don't think that it's easy for anybody else. Like Lelys made the comment that it's still difficult for her there. It's still difficult for us here. I mean, and so just don't let that knock you down, right? It's still, we're still pushing to make places for us within the game. My opportunity with the A's, it maybe from afar, it seems like, oh my God, in the US, they get all these opportunities, right? That opportunity was hard to come by, and all the other positions the women are getting as well. But don't let that hold you back, thinking that somebody else has it easier than you. And also, we're each other's teammates, right? We're supporting each other. The opportunities I take are for all of you guys in this panel, or for all the women in baseball generally. I think that if I could, do well in that position, it only opens the doors for everybody else. So we're each other's teammates in this. We're each other's support system. So for somebody that's young, I always say, like, reach out to us. I feel like we're a community that's very accessible, even to the highest level, right? I will answer a 12-year-old's message on Instagram if that's the case, because I think it'll help the sport in the future, even if it's in 10 years, even if I'm not a part of it. So I think we're a community of people like that. So I'm not saying I'm the only one. I'm saying we're all like this. So please, as a young person, finding the strength or whatever the confidence to reach out to some of us older players and coaches and women in the game, and using us as resources. But as far as making a name for yourself, right, just say yes to opportunities, prove that you could do it based off your abilities, not necessarily talking about it. And people will respect you for it, and the opportunities will just continue to grow.
Yeah, that's fabulous advice. I hope every young girl out there, and I hope the person that's asked this particular question can take that advice, and hope that 1, 2, 3, 5, 6 Instagram messages pop up in all of your profiles over the next hour. Famke, what about you in the Netherlands? Are people feeling included? What's your advice if somebody is struggling to feel included and being wanted in the baseball world?
I think it is still a problem here. That's also because of our low numbers of girls in baseball, and not every team is as welcoming as mine was and is. So I struggle answering this question, probably because I haven't had really a lot of issues with it, because I got super lucky with a lot of guys who are super proactive in that, and a lot of coaches who were super proactive, like progressive in their view. But I would just advise, find a team that wants you, and then prove the others wrong. Preferably switch clubs and beat their asses. So fleeing the situation doesn't always sound like the best option, but you still got to be happy. Like, referring back to the quote you said in the beginning, in the end, you're playing because you're having a good time, and if you're not being included, there's always going to be clubs that will include you. There's got to be. So even if that makes you sometimes travel a bit further, it's worth it, because the sport is still awesome. So that's not going to change. So you just have to find a team that matches it.
Yeah, that's great. That's great advice. So the sport's bigger than the people that don't want you to be involved. So just go find somebody else who'll let you be involved. Or, for some, we spoke to Doris or Amanda Hocking from England. If they don't want to let you play, go make your own team. So that's another thing. Lelys, have you got any thoughts for girls that are struggling to be included?
Liz. Yo.
Yeah, Lelys.
Lelys.
Lelys, sorry.
Pienso que
Lelys.
Lelys, pienso que después de este tipo de conferencias se abra un poco más el camino para las chicas tanto en el softball como en el béisbol, pues, y bueno, habrá que seguir insistiendo para que sean incluidas más niñas o mujeres dentro de este deporte y tratar de batallar contra eso, contra el machismo aquí en Venezuela, y bueno, que no se desanimen, que persistan para que sean incluidas tanto en el softball como en el béisbol, aunque en el softball se ven más equipos de mujeres que en el béisbol. Por ejemplo, aquí en Venezuela solamente se juega béisbol cuando viene un torneo, un campeonato nacional, llaman a un grupo, se hace el torneo y luego llaman a un grupo para representar al país, pero no se juega béisbol en el año. Solamente cuando hay un torneo internacional se llama a un equipo y eso es todo. Entonces pienso que después de esto puede ser que se abran más puertas tanto para el softball como en el béisbol, aunque el softball ha tenido más oportunidades que el béisbol. Que insistan y persistan y disciplina con eso y bueno.
So persist. That's always the answer in the end, is just to keep persisting. So we've got time for one more question here. I'm going to ask Risa this one for first. Just about everybody has had some kind of transition into coaching, and it's brilliant to see not only that you want to give back to the sport, but for some of you, you're being recognized for those skills and knowledge. So Risa, can you give us some advice for players that are looking to transition out of playing and into coaching?
I've seen many people who transit to coach after finishing playing, but I have seen they struggle a bit because they didn't finish playing because they wanted to quit, like they had to be a coach or like some reasons. So and then when they coach, they feel like they still want to play, or they think like they could do better than them. So it's a little bit like a little bit of they struggle a bit. So I think if they are thinking about being a coach, I want them to play as long as they can. And when I finished, I didn't miss it. Like I had enough. Like I knew, like I'm okay with it. So if you still want to play, I think you should still play, and then after that you can be a coach. That's what I'm telling my girls that who are thinking being a coach or still play, or
there is a saying. Sorry, keep going, Risa.
No.
You'd finish.
There you go.
I was going to say there's a saying that you're a long time retired. So once you retire, there's sort of no coming back. And the other saying is that, old baseballers never die. They just move to first base. So what's your thoughts on that? So Kate, what's your thoughts on the transition into coaching as an ex first baseman?
It's funny because I definitely diamond hopped my whole career. So I'm looking forward to it. To me, it's a new challenge. That's the way I'm looking at it. I know it's going to be different for me, looking at things differently, but I feel like I have so much knowledge to share, and I've seen so many amazing young talents coming through. So I'm just really looking forward to being able to share my experiences and pass along my knowledge and learn from other coaches as well. So I'm really excited about it. I just look at it as a new challenge at this point in my my career.
Yeah. Thanks, Kate. So we do have to wrap up. If anyone really wanted to give us sort of that one closing insight, Shae, I think I haven't gone too much. I was trying to avoid the favoring the Australian, but can you give us a closing insight for In your perfect world, what does the women's game look like in 20 years' time?
Firstly, I want to say I admire all of the guys here tonight. And I've had an incredible journey watching you all, and I remember you all, and I've loved playing against you all and turning up every World Cup, seeing how much better you all are, and just wanting to do better myself. So you guys have all inspired me personally to get better, and I've learned a lot from everyone. But I think going forward, you know, how wonderful to have the coaching staff, even in this panel, teaching the next generation of how to play baseball. So I'm really excited to see the future. I'm hoping to still keep going just a little bit more myself. But yeah, I just want everyone to keep giving back as much as we can, so we can keep growing it, so hopefully progress into something bigger, and hopefully the Olympics can happen at some point.
Yeah.
Fantastic job, everyone, and thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, Shae. We really have to close out. I really did want to give everyone an opportunity to do a little closing speech, but we've hit overtime. So I really want to thank you all for just a wonderful input. Everybody's had such amazing things to say. I hope everybody out there in the big wide world of the internet enjoyed the conversations today. As Veronica said, you can continue those conversations just by sending her a message on Instagram.
That's right.
And absolutely, you know, we're all want to grow this game and keep it going. So I want to thank you all for your involvement today. And again, a big thanks to Amy Park, who's in the background making sure it's all working. All these seminars are about promoting the female half of the game. So we hope we've inspired you. Thank you to the WBSC for all your support. And I hope to see you all again face to face one day in the future. And I hope all of you out there listening have a story to tell us about how this series has made a difference in your baseball world. So thank you, everybody, and good night.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye.
Mm-mm.